Well, I hope you found these 12 steps to conflict resolution helpful. What I want you to remember is conflict is like a leaking faucet. Left unfixed, it only gets worse. They do. They don't just go away. They don't melt away. They might go underground for a while, but they can result in bitterness and hurt and pain and certainly broken relationships, and at the very least, significant walls between you and other people, mentally, emotionally, even physically and relationally, so that there can't be intimacy. And relationships ought to be intimate. Remember what George Bernard Shaw once said, in the right key you can say anything, in the wrong key nothing. The delicate part of life is establishing the key. And you want to be in right key when it comes to relationships. You want to be in the key of unity, in oneness, where things are flowing, when you're enjoying one another, where you're iron sharpening iron, you're being synergistic, you're having impact together, much more than you ever could alone, because you understand the power of relationships. And you understand the power and skills for resolving conflicts. Now, you've seen these 12 steps, and I want you to review them here in the days to come. Remember, learn to embrace and resolve conflicts. We tend to practice flight or fight, but embrace them. They're not bad. Remember, anger's not bad, but address your anger the right way. Anger is a motivator that says, hey, there's a problem, a warning light, so deal with it the right way by responding, not reacting. And then seek understanding, not victory. Don't try to always win, seek understanding. And then finally, our fourth, assume the best. Don't jump to conclusions, cut people some slack. And 5 is learn to share your feelings appropriately. Remember, it's hard for me to do, probably for some of you, but learn how to share your feelings appropriately. That's where the issues are. And then 6 is watch your tongue. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Remember the danger of the tongue. And 8 is attack the problem, not the person. Attack the problem, not the person. And you can do that if you're careful, particularly by using I statements, not you statements. And then deal with specifics and not generalization is number 9. Don't just talk general ideas, be specific, give examples. 10 is to seek and grant forgiveness. Wow, what a powerful thing that is, and hard to do, but you must. 11 is deal with conflict personally, go to the person. Don't try to shame people, don't talk behind their back or do it publicly. At least don't start there. And then 12 is be gentle. Remember, people are fragile. They're like eggs. You're walking on eggshells in a sense. We're all very fragile. So think of that wild stallion whose spirit's very much alive, but will's been broken and is submitted to these 12 steps when it comes to dealing with conflict. Well, let me close with a story to show you the impact of this. I was sharing this to a group of leaders in Malaysia some years ago. I had hundreds of leaders before I was going to speak to thousands at a convention, but these were the leaders of this group, a big marketing group. And I went through these 12 steps in Malaysia, and they were mostly Islamic people of faith, but it was in a business environment. And when we got done, I had the speaker come up on stage, and I said to him, what do you think? And he said, well, this was very helpful. I said, well, does it work for you folks? And he goes, oh, yeah. I said, we've never learned to deal with conflict this way. In fact, we tend to run away from conflict or get very aggressive, like you said. And resolving conflict is kind of a new concept. So this has been very helpful. I said, did anything stand out? And he goes, well, for me personally, yes. And that was seeking and granting forgiveness. I said, really? He said, yeah. In fact, I need to ask for forgiveness now. I said, now? He said, yeah. Now, get the picture. We were both up on stage. I had a mic. He had a mic. Hundreds of these top leaders. And he turned to the number 2 guy in the group, and he called him out, Kamal, and he said, Kamal, when we started this business, and he was reading his notes on how to ask for forgiveness. Remember those 4 steps? He said, when we started the business, I stole some of your people. I was wrong, and I am so sorry I stole some of your people, and that was a terrible thing to do, and I'm sorry, I'm so sorry I did that, and caused you embarrassment and hurt and frankly lack of funds and respect and all those kinds of things. I'm so sorry for that. And he says, I'm going to work hard not to do it again. and I want you and everybody here to hold me accountable. And then he said, Ron, he said, I can't read the fourth thing. He said, Ron, I can't read the fourth thing. So what do? I said, well, you say, will you forgive me and shut up? So he looked at Kamal and said, in front of everybody, and said, Kamal, will you forgive me and shut up? I said, no, you don't say shut up. I said, you say, will you forgive me, and then you shut up. He goes, oh, and they were laughing at that point. And then I said, hey, Kamal, it's on the table. You've been asked to forgive your brother here. I said, what do you say? And he jumped up on the table and he said, absolutely. Now, this was from way back at the back of the room. And you could tell in just a moment, like that, the spirit of that group change. Because a leader had the humility to ask for forgiveness, in this case, publicly. Think of that. He wasn't driven particularly by his faith. This was a new concept for him. He was just driven by, it was the right thing to do. He was submitting to the principles. He saw the wisdom in him. Well, I hope you'll do the same thing and see the power of those. If you find yourself grappling with which of these you need to work on, one of the things you could do is take it home to your family or colleagues and simply give them the 12 steps, the list, and say, which one of these is my greatest one and which one is my weakest? I was sharing, and I'll close with this, I was sharing this with a group of leaders in Florida some years ago, and with a colleague, and this was the first time my colleague had heard it. And we had a sheet with these 12 steps on them, and I passed them out, and he went through it, and I presented, and he added some color commentary, and then he went home. We flew back home that night and to San Diego, California, and he left his sheet on his desk. And the next morning he woke up, and he turned over and saw this sheet on his bed, and he saw yellow or orange underlining certain ones with a little note on the side that said, hey Dad, here's a little note from your son, and what was underlined was address your anger and also about being kind and about speaking the truth, but in love, being caring and kind and respectful, and then also being gentle. Because this guy wasn't all that good at that particular time, and his son was letting him know and called him out on that by underlining and even putting some exclamation marks by things that he needed to focus on. Well, I'd rather initiate that with my own children and my family, which I've done over time, and my colleagues, than have them surprise me with that on my pillow in the morning. So I'd urge you to do the same thing. If you can live your life in light of these principles, you will start to see significant transformation in your relationships. From broken relationships to whole relationships, from hopeless relationships to healthy, healing relationships. And I look forward to hearing the days to come how your lives are being changed. Let me know.